probably going to do is work from the head on down. We'll go around the headstock, do some housekeeping, clean that stuff up. Tools. Okay, we got a number 1 Phillips screwdriver. We have my choice of tuner, which is an A440 tuning fork. Okay, of course any tuning device will work. The adjuster that came with the instrument, the handy dandy string winder, side cutters. Hopefully we don't have to do any of that. Brand new instrument, shouldn't have to. And 10 mil open end wrench to get the headstock there, and that's where we're going to start. We're going to readjust some light here so we can see what we're doing. Grab my glasses. Alrighty, so I'm going to be moving around here and I'll be talking a bit, so pay attention. I like to blab and share some good information. You might pick up a tidbit or two. So now I'm going through the threaded inserts, and I did check them previously on break and they were actually pretty good. I'm just double checking those. What I do is I just snug them up. Just snug them up. Okay, you don't want to because they're just thin cylinders, metal. They'll break. Okay, and then go around and again snugging up the screws on the tuning buttons here. Now some tuning buttons, that is, they don't have any screws, so you don't have to worry about it. Or it could be a slot, whatever. You use typically a 3/16 flat end screwdriver. Now, one more thing. One of my favorite tools in doing setups and service on instruments, okay? Awesome. Any capo will do, really, okay? Guitar capo, that is. So I'm going to pop that on there because I'm going to take the saddle out and shave a little bit off there. I've already made a decision as to how much, okay? I do this pretty quick, but what I want to see is a certain amount of gap where the string, say the neck meets the body, let's say. I want to see the height of about a nickel on the treble side here, between, say, in this case, the 14th fret and the first string, and say the thickness of 2 dimes on the bass side. Okay, might be more or less depending on how the instrument is. That's a great generalization for say setting your height using some readily available tools, and that's my 25 cents worth. Okay, so I'm gonna just dump these strings a bit, get the tension off of them. This will also tell me as I go and release this tension how well the tuners are actually working. Are they binding? Are they problematic? Anything like that? Is there any sketchiness whatsoever? So those are fairly loose. Okay. I'm going to take my side cutters here. I'm not going to cut anything, but I'm going to get under the head here and pull these pins up. Sometimes they don't want to come up, and you have to wrestle them a little bit. You can take a little block of wood, carefully put it back here, and lever those heads out. Or you can use there's usually a notch on the back of the string winder. You have to be very, very careful that you don't mark up the top. Okay, I always keep my fingers between the ends of the side cutters here and the top of the instrument, so I know I'm not doing any damage. Okay, nice little tray for that stuff. I'll pop this out. Now, as I said, I've already made a judgment call as to how much I'm going to take off of that. Okay, and I'm looking inside the slot here, and there's nothing in there. Sometimes you find shims in there, and it's a good deal to take them out before you go chopping away at the saddle. So I'm going to take a simple pencil, and I'm going to scribe a line of how much I want to take off. Now, this is about the thickness of a dime. That's how much a small amount here, very, very small amount here, can make huge difference in the playability of the instrument. Now, as I said, I already made a judgment. That is, I already made a judgment call as far as how much I wanted to take off of this. Okay, I would recommend, if you're doing this for yourself, nibble, 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 okay? Small amounts and feel it out, okay? We still have to adjust or recut the nut, remember that? And that will kind of balance, that'll be the last little bit in our balancing act to get this thing tip top for the end user, okay? Anyway, I'm going to chop this or take it back and I'm going to sand off the material. I'll be right back. Alright, so I have the saddle has been trimmed. I'm going to pop that back in there and we'll reinstall our strings. Now you see how handy that capo is up there? That thing just rocks. When you're doing work around your own guitar and stuff like that, there's a bunch of tricks I'll show you for use with the capo. Really cool. Okay, so that's all good. Okay, now I'm gonna tension this up. I'm not gonna bring it right up to full pitch, because if there's any, you know, further adjustments that I want to make with the saddle or around the instrument in general, I don't want to be stressing the strings out. Just putting some pressure on them, you know? Okay? Just so the instrument's kind of got a little bit of compression on it. I'm going to check the height looks great. That's great. It's wonderful. That's just a visual cue, okay? Having the capo at the end kind of simulates, you know, what's, you know, where it's going to wind up eventually anyway, so we're very much into the ballpark with that. Okay, so we're going to cut that nut. Now remember, I don't have the strings up to tension, as I said. So the instrument is starting to compress. So it's kind of in a it's a little bit of a float state right now. It's not under full tension, but once I get the instrument, like all the adjustments made, and get it up to tension, it's going to come up. The neck is going to come up a little bit, and the truss rod's going to load. Everything is going to be more or less at its final living condition, let's say. Okay. All right. So now again, the caveat there is if I do have to reduce the tension to take the strings off, I don't want to stress them out and all that. Okay. So cutting the nut. This is a highly specialized thing which takes a while to do properly, let's say. You know, you have to, for one, have some decent tools. Hobby blades will work, and I have I'm going to do a whole video series just on that, on how to cut a nut with finesse, and where you can source some you know, tools from just your say, your local hardware store or whatever, like things that are just readily available rather than having to buy specialized tools. Not that that is a bad thing, we'll also deal with that, because the right tool for the job ultimately is the best way to go. But if you're just doing this occasionally, you have to make the decision as to whether you want to dive that deep or not. Okay, that's up to you. Anyway, I'm going to get my specs back on. I have a simple process I used for gauging where the strings want to live. I'm using a gap of light associated with each string. Okay. If you want to know exactly what I'm using for files and stuff like that, stay tuned or catch up on some of our other videos. I have some of that information kicking around. Okay. That means you might have to spend some quality time with us. Not quite a shame. Anyway. I'm finding that the strings are actually popping out of the nut. Like they're popping out. What that tells me is the nut, the slots themselves are a little bit too tight and they're grabbing the string. So as I cut the nut, I'm chiseling down the sides a little bit to widen the slot a little bit and give it some breathing room. I'm going to generalize a little bit what I was just doing. This is that's a 50 mil, or not mil, 50 thou needle file, okay, which nice cutting edge on there, and it's tapered to a nice point, really cool. The one I was just using a moment ago, this is an old file I've been using for 20 some odd years. It's meant for a D string on an acoustic, so it's awesome. Cuts actually pretty wide range of strings when you're used to it. And this is a 20 thou. I'm going to go with a 20 thou here. Okay. So I'm going to nibble out the G string on this. The G string is going to be about 26, 24, 25, 26, depending on the gauge. Okay, and I just like getting it kind of prepped like that, and then, because if I start noodling with that too much, the other file, it'll over widen the slot, and I don't want that. Okay, this comes from experience and all that kind of stuff. So there's that. Now I'm into the second string. Again, I'm looking for a little gap of light. I'm back cutting the nut. I'm forward cutting the nut. Forward cut is the most important. Okay, finally, got another old file that I will use here. Not even sure. This has been ground down. Boy, I repurposed this particular gauge years and years and years and years and years ago. Anyway, it still works. It's dandy, and it will do that first string. It's designed to do first strings and second strings on the acoustic, more towards the first string. Okay, almost there. Beauty. That is just dandy. So now I know that those string slots are nice and free. A little housekeeping there. So the strings are going to ride back and forth freely, okay? And let's see, we've got the truss rod has been set, the saddle height's been set, the nut has been set. Those three elements, this is very, very important, those three elements create the ideal triangle, the golden triangle of a setup, as I call it, okay, of action, you might say. The nut is typically a fixed point. Once it's cut, it's cut. The relief in the neck is an adjustable point. The saddle height is an adjustable point, whether it's an electric, acoustic, whatever. Those are typically adjustable items on most instruments. Think of it like an equal-sided triangle. If one of those is off or not happy, the whole thing suffers. Okay, so think of that equal-sided triangle. When everything is adjusted, it's in harmony, all those sides are equal, everything is in balance, and you have a happy guitar. Okay? So, now the last process here is bring it up to pitch. Doing this old school. No stretching, no nothing, because I might have to make another adjustment. I don't want those strings stressed out before I do that. Now that action is just peachy. That's great. That's great. Okay, but I can feel it's just a hair spongy. So, being fussy that I am, you always like things to be nicey nice. Okay, there we go. That should do. That was just a little tweak. Perfectly in tune. Awesome. Okay. That's great. That's dandy. Okay. Now I'm going to give it a stretch. I'm going to push that pin down. If they come up, that's the ball end, and the string will sometimes ride these pins up. Just push them down. Sometimes they can be stiff. There's ways to deal with that. Notice, I'm not spending a great deal of time being perfect about this, okay? I'm not perfecting that tuning. There's no point, because I'm going to stretch them again and put it out of tune. Okay? A little bit of logic goes a long way. Now we're into the end rhyme, okay? Got a pick. So I use relative tuning techniques there, okay? And then I cross-check the span with the fifth string, or sorry, the fifth fret on the first string, that's an A, with that A which is removed by 2 octaves. That'll tell me if the instrument is you know, pretty good in tune, okay? Okay, we got a little sizzle there. I got a screwdriver or anything with a fairly flat end. I'll show you that this is something you don't see every day. Let's knock that a little bit. Still there. Be very, very careful. I don't recommend you do this, but this is what happens. Okay? Just a high fret there. Much happier, just like that. Now, okay, that is pretty much that. What I'm going to do though, as the final, say the very, very last thing, is I'm going to let this sit for a day or so and then check it again. Because I adjusted the pressure in it, it's in a new environment, this part of the world, whatever you want to call it, okay? And if I have to adjust it again, I will do so. Okay, I won't have to deal with much of anything that bobbly fret there wasn't really a problem. You see that once in a while. Entry-level instrument though, it doesn't warrant a full dress out because that's at this price level, this instrument's going to sell for it's way less than a couple $100, and it's just not warranted to do a leveling on it at that price point. Okay, we reserve that for instruments that are going to be a level above that. Okay, but there's quick fixes, as you saw, as to how we can get it to settle down, and of course the double check after it's been living in this state for, you got to give it a few hours to a day, and then I am personally comfortable with handing it off to the end user. I'm going to go, that instrument has been serviced and it's good to go. Okay. Okay. Well, that is pretty much it. Now, to wrap it up, what you can get out of that, I guess, first and foremost, is if you're buying an instrument brand new from a reseller, ask them if it's been set up. Okay? They will probably tell you yes, regardless. But if you paid attention here, ask them, did you go around the headstock and tighten that stuff up? Did you cut the nut? Did it have to be cut? Did you have to adjust the neck? What about the saddle? Did you have to adjust any? If you draw them out. You'll get, if they're kind of doing, well, yeah, we did, yeah, okay, well, maybe you just protect yourself, okay? I've always done that for every instrument that I have sold, that we make sure that they are in good order for the end user, and that always makes me feel better to know that somebody's getting an instrument that's dollar for dollar, in good shape, etc. Anyway, my name is Steve. Thank you for hanging out at GuitarNiche. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that, got something out of that, and we'll talk soon. I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping on this, get some fingerprints off it, and it'll be on to its new life in a new home. So we're not going to bore you with that. And once again, thank you very much. Take care. Talk soon. Bye-bye.